Why do you love to spend time browsing social media on phone? You all can spend countless hours playing games on your phones and not feel tired at all. Your concentration and focus remains high during these activities and you enjoy every bit of it. Then why does it happen that certain activities like exercising, meditation, building a business feels very hard? There can be no argument that these activities will make your life, and still you prefer to spend time watching television and consuming social media. Great athletes like Michael Jordan and entrepreneurs like Elon Musk have no problem in doing all these hard activities, and they have created a big successful life. So today we will see how we can trick our brain to love doing these difficult things and become a producer rather than a consumer. We will start by looking at a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Your body makes it and your nervous system uses it to send messages between nerve cells. That's why it's sometimes called a chemical messenger. Dopamine plays a role in how we feel pleasure. It's a big part of our unique human ability to think and plan. It helps us strive, focus, and find things interesting. Dopamine is what makes us desire things. Neuroscientists have known for decades now that sticking an electrode in certain parts of a rat's brain and then allowing that rat to perform some action like pressing a lever to send current through the electrode will cause the rat to perform the action. Rats will self-stimulate various parts of their brains, but one part that works especially well is called the medial forebrain bundle. It's a bundle of dopamine axons. Rats will self-stimulate their medial forebrain bundle a lot, like thousands of times an hour. If you let it, the rat will keep performing the action to the exclusion of other important activities like eating. They will keep eating till they are completely exhausted. It's the dopamine effect that keeps them going forever. Similar effects are also observed in humans. When we experience pleasurable events like eating satisfying food or drug usage, our body releases dopamine. Our brain then associates the release of dopamine with pleasure and creates a reward system. For example, when you eat comforting food, your brain releases dopamine, which makes you feel good. Therefore, your brain assumes this is a reward and encourages you to repeat this behavior even though the comforting food may not be the healthiest choice for your body. That's because your brain doesn't care if the high dopamine activity is damaging to you. Dopamine is associated with reinforcement. It is thought to be the chemical that motivates a person to do something repeatedly. Reward and reinforcement helps us to create our personal habits. Humans gravitate towards positive experiences and avoid negative ones. Dopamine is what drives us to create these patterns. This is why people with low dopamine levels may be more likely to develop addictions to drugs, food, or alcohol. A drug addict knows that he is not doing the right thing, but he still craves for more drug because it releases an abnormal amount of dopamine. Similarly, other examples of high dopamine activities include scrolling through social media, watching television, scrolling through phone, and many others. We always look for some immediate reward from all these activities and are always looking for that dopamine hit. Now the question comes, how does it matter if we all are looking for that dopamine hit? Dopamine is very addictive, and the more you get, the more you want. Your brain gets used to having high levels of dopamine, and the things that don't give you high dopamine effect like reading books, starting a business doesn't interest you anymore, and it becomes very difficult to motivate yourself to do those productive activities. Since they don't give any immediate pleasure, these activities feel very boring and waste of time, and people tend to prefer browsing internet and social media as they release a lot of dopamine and they make you feel relaxed and comfortable. So people are too addictive to get that dopamine hit, and somehow if they don't get it, they feel very tired and lethargic throughout the day, and they keep craving for something that can give them immediate reward. Now the question comes, what can we do about this dopamine rush? And the answer is dopamine detox. A dopamine detox entails fasting from dopamine producing activities or pleasures for a certain amount of time with the hope of decreasing reward sensitivity. Those who attempt a dopamine detox aim to detach themselves from everyday stimuli such as social media, sugar, or shopping. They are replaced in favor of less impulsive habits and lifestyle choices. The fast can last for a few hours or several days. This will stop flooding your brain with high amounts of dopamine and you will let your dopamine receptors recover. Just remember that if you have severe addiction issues or depression, please consult your physician before starting dopamine detox as you may experience major withdrawal symptoms. Now, what is the origin of dopamine detox? Dr. Cameron Cefa is the creator of the dopamine fast. He commonly uses the technique in clinical practice on technical workers and venture capitalists. Dr. Cefa's goal is to help his clients to get rid of their dependence on certain stimuli such as phone alerts, texts, and social media notifications. Much of his research around his new practice was based on cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT. The general concept behind doctors' detox is for people to let themselves feel lonely or bored, or to try simple activities instead of reaching for quick hits of dopamine. Ideally, people will start to notice how certain stimuli might distract them. Dr. Cefa identifies 6 compulsive behaviors as targets of the dopamine detox, like emotional eating, excessive internet usage and gaming, gambling and shopping, porn and masturbation, thrill and novelty seeking, and recreational drugs. By fasting from these activities that trigger the brain's neurotransmitters, people become less dependent on the emotional hits that dopamine provides, which can sometimes lead to dependence or addiction. Now let's see how can we perform dopamine detox. We can start with one day where you will not be using any internet or phone or any other technology. You cannot listen to music or watch television or eat fast food. So basically, you will be without any entertainment and completely bored. So here is what you will be doing on the dopamine detox day. You will be doing exercise, meditation, jogging, writing journal on paper. This will be hard, but the experience will make you realize how important this day can turn out in your life. After going through this day, you will realize how critical it is to be with yourself, and you will appreciate your own company without any external interference. Starving yourself of all the pleasures you usually get will make you understand that all these so-called boring activities like walking, meditation are more desirable. So dopamine detox works because you become so bored that boring stuff starts becoming more fun. This is one of the extreme methods of doing dopamine detox. Another way can be just eliminating one of the high dopamine producing activity completely for one day of the week. That activity can be anything like watching television, scrolling through social media. You can pick and choose one activity every week for a day and just avoid doing it completely that day. This will allow your dopamine receptors recover from unnaturally high dopamine that's residing in your brain. You will completely be bored that day and you will end up doing certain activities which doesn't release too much dopamine. Now, you should always try to avoid all the activities that release high dopamine altogether. I always try connecting more dopamine to the activities that do wonders for me. My current high dopamine activities serve as an incentive to do things that actually give me long-term benefits. Basically, whenever I complete any difficult work, I use high dopamine activity as a reward. I perform my exercise, meditation, and reading books first thing in the morning, and once I am done with all those hard activities, I reward myself by watching some television, scrolling through social media. But I do these only after I'm done with all the hard activities and not before. Never involve yourself in high dopamine activities first thing in the morning, as you will not be motivated enough to do any hard activities later in the day. Always remember to maintain certain ratio of the time spent doing low dopamine versus high dopamine activities. For every 1 hour of low dopamine activity every day, reward yourself with 10 minutes of high dopamine activity at the end of the day. For example, I exercise for an hour every day, and at the end of the day I reward myself with 10 minutes of watching television. So balancing this time ratio is very important, and please don't involve in too many high dopamine producing activities. Also remember that high dopamine activity should not be damaging to your health, like drinking alcohol or smoking. Choose activities that are harmless and not addictive. There will be many days where you will involve in too many high dopamine producing activities, but things will keep becoming better as you move forward. Adopt dopamine detox as one of the weekly habits, and you will see how doing difficult things becomes easy in your life. As Jim Rohn once said, motivation is what gets you started, and habit is what keeps you going. So now it all depends on you. As you adopt dopamine detox, you will start getting dopamine kick from difficult activities like reading books, starting business, and you will be controlling your life. I hope this video helped you. Please hit the notification bell to get the latest videos. Where is it? Where is it? Here is it. Where did it go? Here is it. Coming up are the videos which you don't want to miss, where I share some morning habits for success and walking and running tips.